Ravishing, Mr. Chair, who I wouldn't mind looking like at all. Monsieur le Président de l'Assemblée nationale, Your Excellency, Madam Secretary General, Monsieur le Directeur, honourable members of the jury, who I'm happy to corrupt if you'll let me. Most assiduous timekeeper. After all, isn't time one of those things with which none of us can compete? Members of the government, members of the opposition, lords, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bid you good evening. My learned colleague Fabian has explained to you that cooperation is better on a world level. It's no joke when we say that as an issue of international importance, the environment is oh so hot right now. But the government would solve that with more consuming, which seems very counter-logical to me. The beautiful Natalia has told us that at the group level, cooperation is better. The government, on the other hand, would have love lives of cavemen. I pity their partners. It now falls to me to demonstrate to you that cooperation is simply better for the individual as well. Now, naturally, I hesitate before using a dirty word in the hallowed precincts of the Hôtel de la Cé. But we in the opposition, let's face it, are lawyers. And surely lawyers are some of the most competitive individuals around. We like nothing more than to hear our clients say, take him for all he's worth. But I'm going to let you in on a little professional secret. The word lawyers really, really like to hear is settlement. Because in a settlement, we get paid twice as much and do half the work. This illustrates that when the individual settles, when he cooperates, he better uses his resources. Quite simply, it's in our individual interest to cooperate. Yes, sir.
Well, surely you can't deny that SFR and Orange and Bouygues Telecom made a settlement, and surely it was good for the consumer, isn't it?
Well, I've no doubt that the consumer does benefit from competition in the marketplace. However, I remind you that there are more things in this universe than money, ladies and gentlemen. Peace, harmony, and love. And on the notion of love, let's get physical, ladies and gentlemen. Because I want us all to consider for a moment the miracle that is the human body. We've heard about bacteria already. No, just yet, thank you. Each and every one of us here today is made up of 100 trillion cells. I'm sure Polytechnique's heard how to count. These are cells. I'm sorry, we're not all mathematically gifted. These are cells that are cooperating, that are cohering, working together to form eyes, skin, the brain, and lots of other interesting body parts. However, coming back to the Prime Minister's speech, if the bacteria in the primordial soup didn't get together at some point, none of us would have evolved beyond that stage. And yes.
You're talking about love, but aren't you confusing cooperation with copulation?
Certainly not. I think the government has confused competition with love. Love is about cooperation. Reproduction is just a function. No, thank you. When the individual body competes with itself, you are very sick. It's cancer. But that's okay, everybody. After they die, we'll tell, or if they survive, moreover, we'll tell them it's okay, it made you stronger. Yes, madam.
But isn't cancer just a lack of competition? Killing cells not killing dead cells anymore?
I don't see how that counters the illustration that the individual human body is very sick when it starts to compete with itself. And it's not just physical health, it's mental health as well. I mean, the expression in English is a problem shared is a problem halved. And this is an invitation for you to complain to your friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's like therapy, but you don't have to pay for it. No. Now, we have a name for the individual who competes. And as he competes, he makes up the rules as he goes along. He likes to count his votes a little bit differently than anybody else. That individual is George Bush. And George Bush leads me, unfortunately, to speak of the notion of tyrant, because a tyrant is an individual who competes. He can, in effect, trust nobody because he is in competition with everybody. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. Wouldn't you agree, members of the government? No, thank you. Quite simply, the tyrant, the individual who competes, is alone. And we all know that playing with yourself gets a little boring in the end. And the ancient Greeks, had a word in Greek for he who is alone. They called him an idiot. It's the etymology of the word idiot, alone. Now, I can totally not agree with the proposition that the Soviet Union is somehow equated with cooperation, because I particularly remember Stalin as not being a particular fan of cooperation. The Greeks had another word that we like to use, which is very relevant today, and that's democracy. Individuals coming together to make collective decisions about how we are all going to be better if we cooperate. Members of the jury, I'm now addressing you. Wouldn't you rather settle your differences? Wouldn't you rather be healthy physically and mentally? And wouldn't you rather play well with others? Because when you retire cooperatively to consider your verdict, just remember that it's in our individual interests for you all to cooperate this evening. I therefore beg you, in the strongest possible terms, to reject the motion.